What's just as a coach, it's kind of the chess match. How does it change differently? I guess when you win game one, you know you have to expect them to bring every possible adjustment.
Yeah, when you win game one in a series, particularly as the home team, game two is just always exponentially tougher. Um, there'll be a renewed level of force that they bring. There's all kinds of possibilities with lineup things, all that kind of stuff. You know, we've got to be ready for anything, not be surprised by anything. Again, it's going to come down to execution of the basics. We got to do a good job with the possession stats. We got to rebound well, and we got to try to make it hard on Giannis. I mean, the guy's one of the top 3 players in the world. I mean, that's pretty obvious as of yesterday.
How do you prepare for anything? I guess. I mean, I know that's a odd question to ask, but I mean, knowing all the things that could be different, how do you get guys? What do you do in the course of the practice to say, like, hey, they could do this, they could do that? Like, how do you kind of try to get them to get everything in their mind?
A lot of it is, the hope is that our base concepts cover the majority of things. But when there's a potential to add a guy like Lillard to the mix, I mean that's extreme. You're putting a first ballot Hall of Famer into the lineup, and so look, we've played against him enough. We have an idea of what to expect there, but we can't overanalyze things. We just can't do it, and so today is really a lot about trying to maintain a high level of edge, compete level, all that kind of stuff. Our fans were great in game one. We've got to do our job to make the building even louder for game two, and knowing the level of challenge that's going to be there.
You guys had such a balanced attack in game one. How big will that be for tomorrow against a team, as you mentioned, they're going to bring their A game?
Look, we're a team built on balance, and so that's how we have to play. We got a lot of guys involved in game one, which was good. Some guys that didn't have much quality playoff experience got their feet more than wet. That's good. But game two and being ready and maintaining the edge is always the biggest challenge.
I've seen the term playoff riser used to talk about Andrew Nembhard. Is there something innate about him that you think allows him to step up in these settings? You notice him doing something different from a day-to-day standpoint?
We need everybody to have a heightened level of awareness, a heightened level of edge, everything else. I mean, Andrew naturally has those things, and he loves big games. He loves big moments. He's shown that. But I think all the guys on our roster, embrace this kind of opportunity. So we've all got to have the same kind of mindset headed into the next game.
Is there one thing that you've been preaching after you win this game one, to these guys headed to game two with this team? Is there one thing that you've been, preaching over and over to these guys as they prepare for this game on Tuesday?
Expect hard. Hard things are hard. Winning the second game of a playoff series after you won the first game is hard, and so we got to expect hard. We got to embrace hard, and we got to, as I said, I think our fans have a lot to do with our success. Not just in game one, but this entire season, and so we need them. But it's our job to get them into it.
Rivalries are great in any sport, and this one has really become one of the great ones. You've been a part of a lot of them over the years, and that's something you feel like the fans have embraced as well, and you can kind of sense that too when you think about these two franchises, can't you?
I'm not into that stuff for talking about that. You don't win a playoff game or a playoff series talking about existential things. It's not about words. It's about actions, and it's about being ready and being braced for the competition.
Fast break points are always key, but one of the things I took note of is every time after an offensive set, how fast everyone ran back to play defense.
Yeah.
What do you think of your transition defense and that impact on this series?
Yeah, I think, obviously who Giannis is, being one of the best players in the world in transition, if not the best.
We know we got to show him extra bodies. So, it's important that we're getting back, showing him as many bodies as we can, and trying to force him to do something different. He's a load in transition getting down, so trying to show bodies as much as we can.
They were getting back and you were still having success. What leads to success against good transition defense?
Playing faster, just playing faster, being who we are. I think that we're, the hardest team to guard in the NBA when it comes to in transition offense. So, but that comes from getting stops. When we get stops, it's easier to get easier shots in transition. That kind of opens up everything for everybody. I thought Drew did a great job getting us started in transition, getting downhill, and then we kind of all just fed off that.
I asked Coach Carlisle, what's the one-word message he sent to you guys about Game 2? He simply said, hard. It's going to be hard. Do you sense that going into this game tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. Understanding of, what this game is. And, Game 1, last year we got smacked pretty bad, and then we responded well in Game 2. So, we expect them to throw a big punch in Game 2. We got to be prepared for it. Understanding winning Game 1 is doing nothing but doing your job. They always say playoffs don't start till you win a road game. So we understand that they're going to throw a big punch in Game 2, and we got to be ready for that.
You guys obviously know they're going to adjust in some way. How do you try to prepare for anything? Basically, they can obviously change in a lot of different ways. How do you go about just prepping for the expectation that they're not going to be the same team they were in the end?
Yeah, there's a lot of film. I think all the answers are always in the film. You go back and look at, what the series has looked like when we played against each other this season. And even really, if you look back at Game 1, there's still a lot we can do better. I think that's the interesting part of the playoffs is, when you have a big win in the regular season, I feel like sometimes it's like, kind of wash your hands with it.
Right.
But in the playoffs, I feel like there's something you can take from every game, and I feel like, there's still a lot for us to improve on from what happened in Game 1. So, you go back and watch the film, there's still a lot of avenues for us to get better. And we're understanding of that, and we know the areas that we need to play better in. And, we have as much to show in Game 2 as they do. We got to come out and keep being ourselves. It's always about us more than it is the opponent. Being the best version of ourselves is the most important thing.
You said that you expected that, if you talk to them when they'd say that they missed a lot of shots they should have hit, basically. The defense was good, but maybe it wasn't as good as the numbers looked like. When you watch that on film, did you see the same thing? Did you see occasions where, all right, we need to get back over there, and we're lucky they didn't hit that?
Yeah, for sure. I think there was many instances of that. I think the odds of them shooting that poorly from three probably aren't that high, as the series goes on. But, what I've learned in the last 2 years playing in the playoffs is it's about the wear-down effect. How can you continue to, I think we've done a great job of showing our pressure up on the floor, sending two to Giannis, just doing many different things. That wear-down effect over the course of 7 games is the most important thing. So just trying to keep flying around, making extra efforts. And I feel like the basketball gods reward you the harder you play, So, it's important for us to be flying around and making those extra efforts on both sides.
You've been around here with this fans base. How they were in the regular season. Give me your thoughts on just what you saw and heard from them on Saturday. How critical are they for Game 2 tomorrow?
Yeah, we knew that this series would come with a little extra juice from everybody, not just the players, the fans as well. And you could feel that energy from the minute, that we ran on the floor. I got chills running on the court just because of the energy in the building right away. So we know how important our fans are. That's why securing home court for this first round was very important to us. And we played really well at home. Through the last month or two of the season, we played really well at home over last year's playoffs. So we're really confident at home. Love playing at home, and our fans are a big reason for that. So we're looking forward to having another game in front of them before we get to go play in Milwaukee.
The importance of the game speaks for itself being the playoffs, but this has become one of the biggest rivalries in the league. Do you embrace that spiciness and that just adds a little extra to it?
For sure. We welcome competition, so it's all part of basketball, and that's what makes the game fun. That's what makes people want to watch. That's what makes us want to play harder. So, we embrace competition.
You guys had such a balanced attack, Game 1, and I know you guys talk about this all the time. You got to get everybody involved. How big will that be tomorrow?
Yeah, just keep. I think our offensive processes have been very good against these guys for the majority of the year, especially in Game 1. I think we're doing a great job of the ball moving around, getting guys open looks. I thought we kind of tapered down in that third and fourth. They made a little bit of a run there, got it to within like 10 or whatever. I think we got to do a better job of. We expect to see some more zone probably from them. Who knows if when Dame's coming back, that could happen at any time. Wouldn't be surprised if it happened tomorrow. So we got to be prepared for whatever that is. I think understanding that in the playoffs, it ain't about,
individual performances. It's just about winning. So we know every game's going to call on somebody different. Some games going to call on me to have a big game, Pascal a big game, Miles, Aaron, Andrew, Ben, Jarris, TJ, all the guys in rotation. I mean, Ben Shepard didn't play game one, but we know there's going to be a game throughout this, out this series or throughout this playoffs where we're going to need him to step up, and he's going to be big for us. So everybody's got to be prepared for that, and I think it comes down to our preparation. Everybody's understanding that we're all in here early, getting our work in, getting our lifts in. You see you guys in here extra after practice. That's all important because everybody's got to be ready when their name is called.
What's made Drew's get in the playoff performance you've been expecting?
Well, he obviously dialed it up last year. He's dialing it up again so far.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that Drew's a playoff riser. He just comes to play. I think he just loves competition. He competes every night on the defensive end and on the offensive end. He has to guard the best player every night, So I think that he embraces competition. You have to embrace competition to do that on a nightly basis. And I think, especially in the playoffs, he's just juiced to go. And I think, he's had success in his career. Think back to high school and Montverde, to Gonzaga, not too much of Florida. But he's had, a lot of success throughout his career. So it's no surprise because he embraced competition and he's ready to go at all times.
Tyrese just gave you a lot of credit for setting the tone in the transition game early on. How were you guys able to, even though they seemed to be getting back, but you were almost going right through them, how were you effective in fast breaking points?
I was just trying to see if there's any gaps, if guys return their heads and see them, kind of the spaces I can get into in transition, just being aggressive. Even if I can't score the ball, just flatten the defense. And then kind of playing our pace after that.
In general terms, could you speak to the shape this team is in? Because you guys, offense or defense transition, I mean, you're quickly getting back to the other end and to a level that a lot of teams are not able to do.
Yeah, we're in good shape. I think we also use our depth on top of our good shape individually to kind of give fresh bodies and keep it fresh in there. So I think the combination of those two things bode well for us, for sure.
I guess people love rivalries in sports, and this has turned into one of the best ones. Obviously, the playoff games are huge anyway, but can you feel that extra juice and spice and you can feel it in the fans as well?
I think any playoff game you play, no matter who's out there, it's going to be super competitive, super emotional. So I think, playoffs is like that.
I was asking Rick about the game tomorrow, and I asked him what is the big thing he's telling you guys. He just really used one word, talked about hard. Give me your thoughts on this match and what do you anticipate tomorrow night against the Bucks?
Yeah, it's not going to be as easy as it seemed to be last game. I think, they're a team that's gotten to the finals, got some players that played in the championship team, so they know what to bring. We just got to be ready to bring those counter punches back.
If Lillard plays, how much do you embrace that opportunity to guard him, and what are some of the things you've learned over the years when you've had that chance?
I always embrace those matches. I love kind of competing against those good players. What have I learned about playing against them?
Different tips,
nothing
tricks,
I tell you.
We'll look for it.
Yeah.
I got a few more. He was talking about conditioning, and I think obviously a lot was asked from you this year, especially to full court pressure basically every ball handler. It seemed like there was some effect on that in your offensive game. You ended up being 3 of 27 last year. How important was that week to kind of get your win back, kind of get some rest, and how much more kind of energized do you feel just because of that?
I'm not sure if that's the factor of it, but I feel good right now. Excited to hoop and feel confident about making shots.
I remember last year, I think, you were talking, I think Coach was talking about how there was going to be so much attention on Tyrese, there's so much attention on Pascal, like you were going to either have to take an opportunity of the matchups you were going to get. Do you look at it the same way, that it's kind of incumbent upon you because of how much they're going to put on those two to take advantage of and go get your opportunities as well?
Yeah, I think every game I'm looking at being aggressive in the opportunities that I can get the ball, Every time they swing it to me, I want to be a threat to score the ball, and if they stop that, I can make those passes. But I always want to be aggressive on the court so it opens up for other guys.
How big is the fans in game one for you guys, and how much do you need these guys tomorrow as you get ready for the Bucks?
Oh, we need them a lot. I mean, I think the energy in there, it's stuff you dream of. Playing the playoffs is a different type of feeling. It's just super exciting, and it's like all or nothing type of thing.
You talked about, you said it won't be as easy as it looked. I mean, I think even Ty said that they felt like they got some shots that they probably feel like they should hit. When you watched film of that, did you guys see a lot of cases where, all right, this had to be a lot better? What stood out to you just when you watched film about how you guys needed to be better in game one defensively in particular?
Thought we did a solid job defensively. I think we're gonna have to adjust to their adjustments as playoff series goes, but I think we did a good job. And I think that there's a couple actions that we might switch up, but nothing that I would say.
Appreciate it.
When you win a game one like that at home, maybe even more pressure to take game two to keep that home court advantage, but you realize you're going to get their best punch. What are you expecting come tomorrow night?
Of course, we know game two is going to be a lot harder than game one. Obviously it feels good to get the first one out the way, but the series is just not getting started. Game one is you get your baseline, you make adjustments from there, and then the real fun begins.
Kind of just used the term, we've heard it before about Drew called playoff riser. Do you think that's something innate about him, or what do you see in his prep that makes him hit a different level when the coach
I think Drew's he's a gamer, man. He's a competitor. So I think when those moments arise and there's some special players that just take the talents to, astronomical heights. He's one of those guys that's proven it over and over and over again. So we just got to continue to keep doing so.
How do you physically prepare for the rigors of a game or a series against Giannis with how much contact there tends to be on both ends of the floor?
Honestly, you just take for what it is. Sometimes you got to lose a battle to win the war. So he's gonna score, his plethora of points and whatnot. But it's a matter of just taking them hits, slowing them down.
You've played against so many different people, man. Is there something different about his strength and just the contact that is created with him specifically?
Just aggression, man. I think he just goes downhill with just a reckless abandonment at times, and he knows how to use his body really well. So it's a matter of counteracting it. It's just a big chess match at the end of the day.
You talked just when I asked you about defense after the game. You said you thought you did decent. It sounded like you knew there was areas you could be better. When you watched film, and what did it look different than you expected? Did it look the same than you expected? Like, what stood out to you when you actually got to fully evaluate?
You can really try to break every single thing down and try to schematically stop. They're going to score at the end of the day. It's playoff basketball, but it's just a matter of making it harder on them, than it maybe was in regular season for them, or with their regular actions, or making it to a second or a third option. So defensively, I thought it was decent. I think we did a pretty good job, especially when the team under 100 points. But there are areas of improvements and areas of focus that we can get better at.
What's the one thing that you're sharing with the guys on the team as you get ready for this tough game you're expecting from Bucks tomorrow night?
Just lose yourself in the moment. This is the best time of the year. It's fun. It's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, this pressure that people, I think, put with it. I think pressure's a privilege at this point. We work really hard to get to this point. So lose yourself in the moment, have fun, compete. When you're at home, just taking all the sights and just continue to keep working.
When you got here, you're just a kid. Now you're one of the longest tenured Pacers of all time. What kind of pride do you take about how that building erupts and comes to life, and knowing how beloved you are as well?
Oh yeah, it's awesome, man. When you hit a big shot, or honestly here in Indiana, it's not really about the shots. It's about playing hard, man. You dive on the floor, you get a big block, or you get a big defensive stop. I think that's in the crowd. Erupts the most. That's what they resonate with the most. So that's what I'm built. That's what I'm built for. It's what I'm built and what I've been about. And it's a blue collar city, bro. So I enjoy seeing the little things that add up.
Speaking of the crowd, how big were they in game one? How much do you need them tomorrow night?
Oh, astronomical, man. Enormous. Just even the little stuff like counting in the free throws, like you think it's just fun and games, but I think when the entire crowd just gets locked in on a moment like that, like the energy and all that type of stuff, the momentum that comes with that can shift is crazy. So that's just definitely one of the best places to play basketball.
They took a lot of attention around the country when they were counting his free throws. Does that just tell you just how legit the fans are here, how they know basketball, and how they're always in these games?
They're passionate, man. At the end of the day, Indiana's just has a very passionate state when it comes to the game of basketball, and it physically manifests, through what you see on TV and what you see out there in person. These guys, they love it out there and they love to compete. So, yeah, man, I'm here for a great game too.
When you get a rebound, who are you looking at? How are you getting the fast break started, quickly going from defense to offense?
Just the nearest guy. Anybody can bring the ball up the floor, especially in our first unit. So just get it out quick or get that outlet and just get it up in 2 seconds or less.
How about how Andrew was able to finish some of those when they were even getting back and he was almost going right through the Bucks?
Yeah, no, Andrew, he's just he's stronger than he looks. He's a real heady guard and get downhill and knows how to use his body well as well. So I think he does a lot of great things for us.
At this point, I imagine you guys have to imagine Dame is coming back at some point in this series. I guess how do you sort of prepare for that, knowing it could be game 2, it could be game 3? But how does that work into your preparation?
Yeah, he presents his own challenges. Obviously spacing the floor and whatnot, and someone who's experienced on their team as well. So anytime you add experience in the playoffs or an experienced team like that, it helps. So we're ready for everything. At this point, I think a lot of it, at this point is on us. You know, I mean, in our preparation. So that's where our attention needs to be. But you know, we'll be prepared for whatever.
Because how do you prepare for everything? Just, you know they're going to adjust somehow. I mean, how do you? Sorry, Tony. How do you prep for that, knowing that they could do anything different?
Again, it's just this. It's kind of a broad. I mean, I think it's the playoffs, man. I feel like at this point, like you know, you schematically you can try to, you know, predict what they're going to do next. But once you're out there and you're playing, bro, it's just ripping and running. So we played this team plenty of times. You know, I mean, they played them 11 times last year, 5 or 6, whatever it was this year. So just you know, just taking it what it is.
Double Giannis, showed him the walls, 4-5 switch with Pascal. Is there specific triggers for that stuff? Are you guys just communicating possession to possession? How do you show him different looks throughout a game?
A steady diet of one thing. I mean, I think that anytime you give a better player, they see the same thing over and over again. You know, they're going to dissect it. So it's just a matter of just making them think more and just continue to throw different bodies at them.
Just step.